back up and step away from the manuscript. Back away slowly. Hey! October 27th, Monday, 2014, week 7, home stretch, session 1. Back up and step away from the manuscript. You need a break. You've been in the soup. This isn't doing nothing. I think we already know the boys in the basement are very busy, even if we think we're at rest. We meaning all of us, all parts of us. So while your readers are reading, a couple of things could be happening. And first and foremost is that, in all seriousness, you are taking a break. And well deserved, I might add. I loved this part of the book process too. Because, again, at this stage of the game, bake time, and you'll hear that phrase again, is not doing nothing. Bake time is just that. You put the ingredients in your cake, for your cake, your eggs, your flour, your sugar, your butter, whatever assorted flavorings. Stir that puppy up. It's probably a little more complicated than that, but I think you know I probably don't bake cake. You put it in the oven, and you don't go to the oven every 2 minutes and go, is the cake ready? Is the cake ready? Is the cake ready? You let it bake. And while it's baking, do you sit there and look at the oven like this? No. You do what you need to do. You live your life. You perhaps engage another aspect of your domicile. You make a bed. You call a friend. You do any number of things. So you let the oven do what it does while you do what you do. No different when you bake. You step away from the manuscript and you let readers read. You let the boys in the basement. That's my new term for the subconscious now. I decided to use Stephen King's term and not go clinical. I love that. So let the boys in the basement on their little bicycles and their wheels. While you're chilling on the beach or walking or scootering or working with your modeling clay, boys in the basement are like, na 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 na. I love that. Isn't that fabulous? I mean, that's fun. So you know how your mind works. So use it to the best um, advantage for yourself and for your novel. When you're in the soup is like being in our new romance. When I um, when I told you that Guarino's was the name of a restaurant in New York City on which I was modeling a party venue in my novel, I was absolutely incorrect. Why? I was in the soup. I was deep in the soup. I was in trance. And that's what the soup is. I used a different metaphor the last time I talked about it, but one of the reasons why you need to put your hands up and step away from the manuscript is because you need objectivity. And these mini bakes and longer bakes allow you to continue to be productive. How? Because you are resting your really your cognitive mind, your left brain. You are resting your energy, your body energy. You're letting the boys in the basement do whatever it is they do down there to give you ideas, and you let readers read. Okay, so when you are in the soup, it's a very intense place to be. I think of it as you're in a new relationship. You know, you meet someone and you start dating, and you start dating more. Maybe you're seeing other people, but you're really into this person, and so you're like, we're not even dealing with other people because you are it for now. Anyway, you are it, and you start seeing each other regularly, and then after I don't even think a month goes by, and you decide it's time for the romantic getaway, honey, and you drive up to the Berkshires. You live in New England, or you fly to Paris or the Caribbean, and you're just all about that person. You spend a long weekend and you're arm in arm and hand in hand and snuggly wuggly in bed, and you're just loving getting the opportunity to focus on deepening this relationship. And as I have mentioned previously over these several weeks, you are in relationship with your novel. It's not something, okay? It is a part of you, and you are in relationship with it. And so you've been deepening that relationship, that intimacy over the period of weeks, these period of weeks. And you have been on this romantic getaway where it's all about this novel. You're getting to know all aspects of it intimately, just like a real lover in my uh, romantic getaway metaphor. And when you come back on your way back from that romantic getaway, you're like, you can't even think straight. All you do is think about that person. You start having memories of all the fabulousness that happened over the weekend, and you get distracted by it. And now you have to step back into your external world, out of the world of your imagination, where you were deeply immersed, remembering how deeply immersed you were in this romantic getaway. And then, it's like, oh, my car needs an oil change, or I have to clean out my garage, or I need to go supermarket shopping. And it can be a little disorienting to come out of this trance state, of having been so intimate, right, for an extended period of time, having been so deeply immersed in the energy of another, so that when you come out, and as you come out, it can be a little, you can feel a little off. That's where I was when I was speaking to you of Guarinos. The name of the restaurant is in fact Gustavino's. But I was so deep in the soup of my novel, and in the soup really is simply another word for being immersed, deeply immersed in a trance state, in an altered state of consciousness. And isn't that what that period of early romance is? After 3 months, we begin to see um, uh, our object of desire, or our person of desire, a little more clearly, a little less with rose-colored glasses. Doesn't mean the relationship's over, but we can just sort of look at it. We're like, oh, okay, yeah. Um, what they say in relationships, the attribute of the other person that really attracted you, um, over time becomes the thing that kind of gets on your nerves. And again, it doesn't mean you toss away the relationship. We all have our warts. But my point is that I was so in the soup. I was in that trance state that I mistook my fictional restaurant for the real thing in New York. And I want to tell you that, and I just wanted to be clear. I wanted to revisit this because I wanted to ensure that my metaphor was one of fun. I didn't want to leave you with the impression, and I wasn't sure that I had done my job. I didn't want to leave you with the impression that being in the soup, yes, it's intense, but it's intense like being on a romantic getaway with a new lover. That's the kind of intensity I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like intense, overwhelming. I'm talking about intense, like can't get enough. That's that's different. So you're so into it that you're kind of disoriented. So here I am in my trance state of my novel, and I need to get out of trance far enough, perhaps not all the way, but far enough so that I can be present for these videos. And I just wanted to share that as a real time, real world example of what I mean by being in the soup. So, as much as you enjoy the intensity of a new romance, it is in fact intense. And we do need to put new oil in our cars. We need to buy food. We need to pick our children up from school. So, we need to move between the external world and the world of being in the soup. My point is that being in the soup is fabulous, but it's intense and it's an altered state of consciousness. Okay. Um, so this part of this week, because people are reading for you, it doesn't, you don't have to rest the entire week, but I do want you to take, a few days off and just be okay with that, because you've earned it, and not only have you earned it, not only it's important to give yourself permission to rest, um, because it is, and we need rest, so it's good to feel good about that. And if you have any concern or anxiety about, oh, I need to work on my novel because I want to get it done by December 1st, know that the boys in the basement are doing a lot of work for you. And and they need a rest. I mean, you just all need a rest. You just stop. And that air, we talked about air cushioning your day, week 1, session 5. Air cushioning your day, creating a vacuum, holding the space is not nothing. Nature abhors a vacuum. So if you create one, all kinds of wonderfulness, I know that's not a word, but I like it anyway, all kinds of wonderfulness, goodness fills it. Don't be so anxious to fill it. Oh, I have to keep working. Oh, and now that I'm not working on my novel, Gina said I can take a rest so I can go around and run around and do this and do this and do and join that committee and do that. And no, creating space is, in fact, something. It's a whole lot of something. And you will discover that if you are willing to hold that space open. In our next session, week 7, session 2, I'm going to talk about what happens in the meantime when we are in bake mode with our first novel. Hey, I'll see you soon.